Hey guys, my name's Claire and I decided to make this coming out video partially so that I didn't have to keep telling the story over and over again, and partially in case it helps anybody else who's going through anything like the hell I've been through. So my story probably starts when I was at 15. That was the first time I ever really acknowledged the fact that I had a crush on another girl. And before that, I pretty much only ever had crushes on boys, but it was more about like dating a boy because everybody else was. And in retrospect, I definitely did have a lot of actual crushes on girls. I just saw it more as, oh, I want to be friends with them, I want to be like them. And to be honest, that did carry on for quite a few more years after I sort of first realised that maybe there was more to it than that. But it really started when I met this girl who also liked girls, and it was sort of the first time I'd ever thought like, oh, maybe like that is a thing that I could be. I might be gay or bisexual or something. But I definitely pushed it away and decided not to act on it. I was in an all-girls school, and so I struggled a lot with what other people would think of me and how they might treat me differently if I did come out at that time. So I sort of denied it and was like, no, I like boys. I had a boyfriend. Yeah. And then probably when I was about 17, I had a crush on a teacher, which everybody knew about. But I still was like, oh no, I just want to be like her. I want to be friends with her. Oh, she looks like this celebrity. And I became a little bit obsessed, but it was probably a pretty important part of me coming to realise like, oh no, this isn't super normal for straight girls. You're actually gay. But again, I didn't admit that to myself, and so I ended up kissing a girl at this party while I was drunk, and then I kissed a boy who would later become my boyfriend for about 2 months. And then while I was dating him, I sort of realised I wasn't into boys. I definitely had more of a natural attraction towards girls, and I sort of hated what I was doing to him and to myself, so I broke things off with him, and he didn't love the fact that I was like, yeah, I'm actually gay. And obviously those friends gave him crap for it, but it had nothing to do with him. It was all me. And so shortly after that, I started experimenting more with girls, and I also experimented more with boys. And I was really sort of doing this like in out thing with the closet, where I was like, oh no, I like girls, but I also like boys, and I also could be bisexual. And every single time I did anything with a boy, it sort of was reaffirming for me like, no, you're gay, this is not who you are, stop trying to pretend that it is. So it was about December of that year when I first came out to my mum and my sister, and they were both very supportive and were like, yeah, we knew. When I came out to my mum, I planned to like walk into her room and say, look mum, I'm going to talk to you about something, I'm gay, and I knew she'd be fine with it. But when I walked into her room, I just burst into tears and couldn't get any words out. And so she was kind of like, oh man, what's going on? She hugged me and said, is it something bad? Is it something good? I basically made her guess what was going on. She asked that if I was pregnant, to which I laughed and said, no, it's kind of the opposite of that. And then she asked if I was gay, and I said yes, and She hugged me. From there I felt free, and like I was finally being my true self. I was being honest and admitting it to myself and to everyone around me that, yeah, this was me, this is who I am. And then a few months later I started my first year of medicine and started completely out, like did not hide it from anyone. I wore my chicks top around them and basically told anyone who it came up with. Like, I did not try to hide it at all, and it felt good. It felt like I was actually being me, that I could live my life as freely as I wanted to. Everything sort of changed about a year later when I started going to church. My brother had been going for a little while and he invited my mum and me along, and I came along and started to make some really good friends, but I chose not to be open with them about who I was initially. So I keep all my jokes and comments to myself, and they'd talk about the boys they liked and I just wouldn't say anything. And it was honestly quite a struggle at first to not be who I was and not talk about things freely, as I've just become so used to doing with everyone around me, because they loved me and supported me no matter what. And it got to the point where about 6 months after I'd started going to church, I couldn't keep pretending to be something that I wasn't anymore. And so I decided to post a status on Facebook on National Coming Out Day about the fact that I was gay. When I posted that status, I got a lot of likes, a lot of comments, being so supportive. Got it from like old teachers from school and all these people who I met throughout my life. They were liking and commenting, and it was all really great. But then I think about 2 or 3 people from the church liked it, but no one that I was actually close with. And about 2 hours after I posted it, I got a call from the pastor being like, oh, can you come and have a chat? We need to talk about stuff. So that afternoon I went and spoke to him and his personal assistant, and we spoke about how it wasn't necessarily right, but they still loved me and they'd like to have a chat with me about it at some point, which never happened. But from there on, like, nobody mentioned it, nobody really spoke about it. It was just a thing that they kind of ignored. But I was being honest, and that was what I wanted from myself, complete honesty. About a year later, I met a girl at church and we started a relationship, dated for about 3 months before she broke up with me and basically turned around and said, this isn't right, I can't do this, it goes against what God says. And obviously I was pretty upset. That was probably one of the lowest points of my life. So I had her saying this to me, and then I had my friends from church saying like, oh, this is for the best, it wasn't good, it wasn't right. And I just felt worthless, honestly, and I didn't know what to do. I was afraid that I was going to lose all my friends, and while I'd been dating this girl, I'd sort of lost touch with pretty much everybody except her. And so I was desperate to still have somebody left on my side, and that led to me being like, okay, maybe it was wrong, maybe I can be straight after all. Sort of forgot about the time I tried to do that before. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, no, I'm straight now. I think, yeah, that's right, that's what I want to do. And they loved it, and they were like, oh, we're so proud of you. And honestly, the hardest part was then I told some of my other friends from outside of the church, like, oh, this is like, yeah, I think I'm straight now, yeah, definitely called it too early. I was that was me, that was wrong before. And they turned around and they were like, okay, if that's who you really think you are, we're fine with it. Like, if that's you, I feel for you. I love you for who you are. Gay, straight, bi, anything. I love you. And the church were very much like, oh, you're straight now you're finally a proper Christian, we can be proper friends. And yeah, it was I don't know what I was doing. I started denying who I was to please other people. For a while there, I honestly thought I could do it. I went on dates with boys, I slept with a boy, I was talking about like the perfect guy and weddings and all these things that like I'd previously only spoken about having with another girl. And basically I got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I was so stressed and overwhelmed between that and doing my 4th year of medicine, and I just couldn't keep up with it, and I was getting so sick for months. And then a guy from the church approached me asking me to make a testimony video about how I'd come to know God, and I wrote out what I thought they wanted to hear, and we filmed the video. And some of the things I said in there, I look back and I hate myself for. And then they asked me to say more things that were just incredibly homophobic and 100% not what I believe in the slightest. But I said them, and the video was made, and the video was shown to people, and they were so proud of me, and they were congratulating me, and I hated it. I was like, no, it made me feel terrible inside. And I realised like I'd been seeking for them to say they were proud of me, and them to say like, oh yeah, like we love you. And I was just seeking approval from everyone, which is impossible, but it seemed so important to me at the time. The video was supposed to go online, but I had to message them and say, no, I can't have that online, because that wasn't who I am at all, because I am gay, and that's just the end of it. Basically, that was the tipping point for me. I couldn't let them put my face behind this campaign that they seem to have. No, being gay is wrong, and you can come out of it. You can stop being gay. You can turn your life around and find God and become straight. But really, it's not like that at all. It would be me denying who I am. I had a conversation with someone who is a few years younger than me, and she came out to me, and just the look of relief on her face when I said I got it, and I smiled and I didn't judge her. She looked so relieved and so free. It made me miss that. It made me miss being who I was. After how terrible it left me feeling this year, I've decided to start 2016 with a clean slate, and I'm going to be myself and be my most honest, true self, and I'm going to stop trying to change who I am to fit what other people want of me. So that is what I'm doing here right now, telling you, whoever's listening, that I'm gay and that I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I am going to do what makes me happy, and I'm unashamed.